All right, good morning and welcome to this special board meeting of the Appleton Area School District. My name is Kay Eggert, and first roll call of fellow board members. James Bacon.
Here.
Edward Ruffalo.
Here.
Chris Sauter.
Here.
Jason Kolpak.
Here.
Nick Ross.
Here.
Okay. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, I would ask for a motion to approve today's agenda.
Motion to approve agenda. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none, then all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. It does not appear that we have any public input this morning, so we will just move right to our board business, which is consideration of a new charter school among American Immersion School. Hi. And we had a presentation on this last week and an opportunity to ask questions, but of course now would be another opportunity for further discussion on it. So I'll just open it up. If board members have anything, or Mr. Hartjes, is there anything you wanted to say first about it?
Just review quickly that the reason for the special board meeting is the application is due today. And so between the time in October when the state found out they were receiving the federal dollars, it didn't give our group of organizers a lot of time to get organized between the end of October and this deadline. So appreciate everybody coming in for this special board meeting this morning.
Greg, would you be able to just kind of give us an overview of the timeline if contracts approved today, so when the school would be open?
I can. So the first step would be finding out if the grant application is funded by the state, and the kind of tentative deadline they said from the state is June. So by June, we will know if the grant is funded. And then from there, we will be in a planning year. And so this is more traditionally how we have functioned with charter schools is we've had a year for planning. The Omalate Academy is different because it's a federal grant, and so they have to open in the fall without that year of planning dollars. So this is the pace that we like, in that we get a full year to do the planning, and that's the first of the 5 years. So if at the end of the first year, our group decides that for whatever reason, they don't want to continue, or as a board, if we don't want to continue with the grant, we can, let's see, the terminology is we can terminate the grant if we would like. But really, that year of planning has really helped us to move along at a good pace to make sure all pieces are in place for the opening in the fall of 25. And so Ebony and I currently are working with African Heritage Inc., and we have a lot to get done to open that school in the fall of 24. So this one, just a little bit easier timeline for us.
And if we're unsuccessful in the grant, that would end the process?
It would end the process. We could apply for a grant again next year. And so that would be up to the leadership group to come back again and go through this and apply for the grant again, right? And, much like the discussion that we have had here, the state is going to look at the need. Is there a need? And does the innovation that comes with the Hmong American Immersion School, is that going to fill that need? And that's what the state is going to look at to say, all right, first, is there a need? And then is what we are proposing for a school going to meet that need? But we certainly, the state will be awarding grants until the dollars are gone. So they have a a lump sum of money to give out to grants. And so that's how that's going to work. And I did share the one time at a previous meeting where ATech was awarded, that was our last charter school to open, got a planning grant and then an implementation grant. And then the next applied for its next round of implementation in third year and did not receive that. But a little bit different, that school was already open. So this is better structure in that we will know upfront how much, if the grant is awarded, how much the dollars are going to be in that grant.
Any discussion? Okay.
I have a question. So first I want to thank the folks who put all of this together, the proposal, and also just acknowledge the kind of due to factors outside of people's control, kind of the journey that this has gone on with the need to pause and then regroup and, give feedback to the community that you had to pause. And I'm sure, that was not what you wanted to happen, but we're here now, so that's awesome. And my question is just to give you an opportunity to maybe give your final thought, if you will, before we vote. But when you think about High, what is your vision for the impact High will have on our students, families, and the larger community, sort of long term? Like, what is your vision for the long-term impact of High on our community?
Thank you. As we shared, some of our founding partners, myself, along with Dr. Tai, Polly Moore, and Pao Yi, we are all products of this district and very, very proud products of this district. And we, in many people's eyes, look at to us and say, hey, you guys did it. Appleton did a nice job of giving you the academic needs that you need to be successful professionals that are giving back into our community. We're back into education because we feel so profound why education is such a great foundation and the backbone of just our community, but our nation as well. So we come in before you with pride and what Appleton have provided for us, and we want to continue to give our future student and our own children and our community the opportunity to look at it different ways or different lens through education. We noted that many of us growing up, we've gone through a lot of cultural clashes, understand what the Hmong culture with Western culture, being some of the first generation here in the Fox cities. Now our children no longer have the cultural clash, but they're losing their identity. And our identity, knowing who we are, from a former counseling background to look at a child, when they know who they are and where they want to go, it gives them a better vision to be able to accomplish those goals. And academic is, we know that it is important, but we also need to take a look at our children and help them to be able to be successful in our community within our Hmong ethnicity or Hmong culture, to know what it means. They may not have to experience it every day, but at least they know about it. And to be able, important piece is communicate back to their elders. Many of our kids, our children, and even I know in my own school where parents cannot communicate with their own child. We're not talking about one generation to another immediately. The parents can't communicate to their children because they don't speak the same language anymore. And I find that very difficult in how we can raise and what does this mean to our community? It means our parents can't communicate to their kids. Therefore, how do you instill value? How do you instill integrity, character, and those family traditions that family do celebrate? We know that in every family, there are traditions that is just unique to each of the family. And it is important that we continue to have High be a part of this so that at least the communication, verbal language, parents can communicate to their own children, but also so those children can build those relationships with their grandparents and not shy away from that. I see that in my students. I see that in my own children, in which, I have a 12-year-old daughter who cannot go and talk to my father. And when I ask, hey, can you bring this to grandpa? Oh, no, mom, I'm afraid grandpa might ask me questions. I can't. And then end up being where now those relationships are hindered. We know that as a community, relationships are so important. We know that having these relationships are going to install, whether that's at work, whether that's home. We know that in works that we do, we work with other people, and we need our children to be able to have the skill sets to be able to work through that, or to at least attempt to have those communication and build those relationships. And communication is key. So with that, we see that High will provide, the language piece with the Hmong language. We also see that High will bring in some cultural traditions and values that's practiced in the Hmong. And then we can also bring in our community people into our school to help teach that. Because if you look to me, I'm going to be honest, I cannot read or I cannot write Hmong. I've made 6 attempts and I did not successfully achieve that. And part of it because I'm trying to learn Hmong like I'm learning English. And so now that for me is something that I continue to attempt at, but I'm not able to be successful. When we look at cultural practices, because I'm assimilated so well in the Western culture that I don't know all about it. And we do need our elders to come back in, or our community people to come in and teach some of these things, or some of the, a cultural piece, but arts as well. And those pieces to enrich our students, and so that they understand the why behind, their own culture, but also understand the impact of what they can do and bring forth, into giving back to our community as well. So that's kind of like a little bit of somewhere I'm saying why we need High. I know that High is not going to be for every family, but I know that we also have many families who also know that have been speaking. And in fact, even this year, I've had some families said, can we come to Johnston next year in hopes that High will come to Johnston? And I said, no. I said, at this time, we don't have a location that has been made up yet. And I said, yes, as an elementary principal, I said, I've been a very integral part of this, but a lot of those are still up in the air yet, and I don't want you to make those decisions. But I know that there's a lot of assumption in our Hmong community in which some of our families are already looking at enrollment at Johnston, just for the fact that they're thinking that High is going to come to Johnston. And so I don't know, Dr. Tai, do you have something else to add?
I just have 2 things. Did an excellent job, Maiku. I just want to add, in addition to that, Maiku talked a little bit about the education piece, but as a district, I believe that High being here offers this district to be innovative in terms of educating our community with the instruction, the Hmong history instruction, which could potentially serve as a hub for instructional practice around supporting Hmong students, or even just teaching Hmong history. Because in the state, that could be a piece. And if High, meeting that need here in Appleton, we can be a hub for learning for other districts. The need is there. But in order for any district or any individual to move forward, you need to have the right personnel. And you have, in the state of Wisconsin, there are 7 Hmong administrators, but here in Appleton, you have 3 or 4. We have the resource to support this. We have the student body to support this, and we have the organizations in our community who are willing to support this. And I think when we move forward with this, when done well, High can serve as a site for all other districts or school who want to implement this model to come and look at what are we doing well. That would be the piece that I would like to add, because we will be the first school that would be offering the immersion of the Hmong culture into all the content area, as well as supporting a Hmong language course to support Hmong studies. So when done well, Appleton will be a resource. And that is our goal for the next 5, 10, how many years we can make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you both very much for your passion for this project and for your words. My last point is that this comes when, at a very interesting time because the state legislature just passed a bill to basically require education on Asian and Hmong history and culture in our schools. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't move forward with this project. And I also just want to say that I think one thing that many of us are concerned about when we think about charter schools, all of our charter schools, is transportation. And that's a really important issue for our whole community to consider because, Appleton, our district is unique in that we offer so many charter options. And so I feel like this transportation question really becomes a community issue. We are resource rich and for some reason, I just believe that we can figure it out. So, yeah, that's my final thought on this and charters for now.
So I'm going to piggyback off of your comment about transportation. I know that part of the grant is purchasing vans and then using those to transport students. I guess one of my questions is they're small vans, so the vision for transportation, I thought I heard someone say the other night during the presentation that it would be occasional transportation. But then as I was reading the grant, I wasn't sure if it was everyday transportation, but thinking that I'm wondering if the van space would be enough if it's everyday transportation. So I'm just wondering if you could share a little bit about your vision for that, please.
Yeah, so when we talk about that, we're looking at a 15-passenger van. And so that will allow us to, when you put them together, if you were to drive 2 van, we'll hit at least 30, with students and staff, about 30 individuals and fit into that van. Our day-to-day kind of use would be more for, families who might have situations that come up that prevent the student from being able to attend school because we recognize that being a charter school, we're not a neighborhood school. So being able to, when there are situations like that, be able to be responsive to that and be able to pick up that 1, 2 couple of the family. We know that oftentimes, our families might have barriers that out of their control. So we don't want it to become every day that we're going to go pick up the family, but when there's situations come up where there's for a week a car broke down and they only have 1 vehicle and when the parent needs it but can't pick up send the children to school. We also would like to use that in situations where if attendance becomes an issue and we need to go and pick up the student, that we able to use these vehicles for that, or we have special trip that for grade level. And because we are starting with just 1 class per grade level, approximately our biggest class at one given time may be probably like 25 students. We'll be able to do a field trip without and to cut down some of the costs when it comes to busing for some of those trips if it. However, if we end up having to go on trips that involves, more beyond the 30 capacity, we're definitely going to have to utilize the busing systems and such. But we wanted to look at this as another way for us to be able to give access to our students through a variety of different experiences without having busing be an issue, just because we know that is already something that all our districts are dealing with.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. I have another question having to do with your goal of increasing the post-secondary education opportunities for Hmong students. And I'm wondering if you could just comment a little bit about what you see the relationship between high and that goal and how that how you see that functioning.
Definitely. I share with my own experience, right? And I share that, in the video that we watch, I said, growing up, I gone through a lot of cultural clashes, but I always knew who I am as, because of my being first generation here. I knew who I am. And I know that through, my counseling practices, when we do individual planning conferences with our students, regardless of ethnicity, a big piece that we ask our kids is, who are you? So you answer the question, who am I? Okay. From there, knowing who you are, kind of say, here are some skills, talents, and abilities that I have. There might be some things that I might dream of wanting to become, for example, a basketball player. However, my height, my size is not going to make it there. So the reality is that great dream, it's okay to dream, to have that. What's your backup plan? And I think when we look at secondary education, what high would provide for our students is an identity piece, know who they are, what it means to be, Hmong, what does it mean to grow up in the United States, here between multiple culture, because we're in the United States, when you talk, I often refer to Western culture, but there's so many different culture that in our community that our kids are exposed to and embraces, to be able to understand what it means to become more well-rounded, to be able to inspire them to know that if post-secondary is something they want, it's important that we have those graduation rate a little bit higher. I know that for me to think of when do I need to go to college, I graduated as a junior here in Appleton. And why did I graduate a year early and not go into my senior year? Because I knew that for me, even though my older siblings and no one else in my family, I'm the first to go to a 4-year college. And I knew that because I knew who I am and what I wanted to do requires me to go to more education. I can't be here if I didn't see the value in education, because I know that's where that is the roadmap that takes me there. And our kids, when they know who they are, what they want to do or be when they grow up, they have an idea what is that roadmap and what road do they have to take to get there. Because we know that there is no bypassing of education, especially if you want to go into education or certain things. And then if not, what training school do you need? What skills do you need? What certification do you need? Because it may be where they need, to be able to go to the TAC to get a certification beyond that 4-year degree. And it depends on what it is. I think knowing who you are is going to give you that vision to understand where you need to go, because you don't know where you're going if you don't know who you are.
Thank you. I do have just one more item, and it's in, I'm not sure if you can pull it up, Kayla. In Appendix A on page 15. On in the second to the last paragraph. Pardon? It's Appendix A. I'm sorry, Appendix A, yeah. Yeah. So midway, let's see, where is it?
Is it the narrative?
It's the narrative, yes. Sorry, there
There
are
are
a number of. It's the paragraph, currently high has an established board of 8 distinguished board members. And towards the bottom, there's a reference to, similarly, the vice president Bill Curtis is a retired educator who has served proudly as an ESL teacher, ELL coordinator, and founder of the bilingual school. His experience at all levels of K through 12 education. He is well qualified to oversee the operation. And then there's a reference to the goals of all students, of students of color and English learners. No, I'm not sure if that's, yes. It's about halfway through, yeah. Ensure success for students of color and English learners. I'm wondering if we need to add something for all students, including, or something like that, since the school is open to all students, if that would be a little bit more clear.
It's a great recommendation. I know that we added that component to some of the paragraphs above. We probably have missed that, so thank you for.
Thank you. I appreciate your willingness to look at that again.
I'll make that change.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of the work that you've done on this. And I did see a couple of just typos, if I could just share those with you at later, maybe after the meeting, if I could share that with you. Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion? This is an item of consideration. Would there be a motion to approve the application or that the Appleton Area School District would serve as the authorizer for high charter school?
So moved.
We have a tie over here.
Seconds.
Okay, wonderful. We have Edward is the first on that and James is the second on that motion. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, then could I have roll call, please?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then that is the end of our business for today. So if I can have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So
So
moved.
We have another
Makes it
time.
I'll second.
And Nick is a second. All right, thank you. All right, all in favor? Aye, any opposed? Okay, wonderful. The board will then go into a work session to follow this meeting. So thank you. All right.
Because this is a timely matter, I do have a couple items that